Write each of these as a simplified ratio. So remember, when we're doing these, I know, it's been a long weekend and you forgot how to do trig, huh? When we're doing these, we're not finding angle A. We're not finding angle B. We are simply finding the ratio, the cosine ratio of angle A, the sine ratio of angle A. So your answer should be a fraction, and please simplify and reduce it, okay? So Chloe got square root 3 over 2. Let's look at that. So we would circle angle A. SOHCAHTOA, do you remember how to spell it? Did you memorize how to spell it? Oops. Sorry. SOHCAHTOA tells us that cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent over hypotenuse, and this would reduce to 1/2. So you're right, it would be square root of 3 over 2. Very good. Next one, sine of A. Some of you picked up on this already. You noticed a pattern, right? You saw the 4 root 3 and you saw the 8. 4 is half of 8, and that's very curious because we just got done with a unit where that pattern was apparent. If I put a 4 here, maybe that would help you see that, oh, x root 3, 2x. 4 is half of 8 root 3, and that fits into one of those shortcuts that we learned last 6 weeks. Now, or last unit. If you had not seen that, that's perfectly fine. What could you have done? You could have done Pythagorean theorem, 8 squared minus 4 root 3 squared. Guess what you would have gotten? 16. And then you take the square root of 16, and guess what you get? 4. So even if you didn't spy the 30, 60, 90 rule, you could have still gotten BC by doing Pythagorean theorem. All right, so Abbas, what's your new answer? Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, Abbas. Opposite of angle A is 4, and the hypotenuse of the triangle is 8. So what's the simplified ratio? Yes, good, 1/2. So the answer to the sine of angle A is 1/2. And then Alton, are you ready with the tangent of B? You can't do the tangent of B, I'm sorry, I meant C. Sorry. That's a good point, is that you can never do trig with the right angle. You always do it with one of the acute angles. Graham! All right, so that last one, the tangent of C is opposite over adjacent. Cross them out. Radical 3 would be the tangent of C. You cannot do trig on the right angle ever, so you could not take the tangent of B. All right, your homework over the weekend was called trig practice. So these are the answers to the trig practice. 1 through 12, you were just literally punching buttons in your calculators and practicing your rounding rules. 13 was when you really started to solve for missing sides of triangles. So hopefully over the weekend maybe you worked on this so that it isn't completely foreign to you today when you take your quiz. Here's the next page of answers. On a lot of these you either get it or you don't get it, right? Not very many of these were deeper thinking problems. You did not know how to do 30 or 31 yet, so I meant to tell you to omit those. Sorry about that. You did not know how to do those yet. So if you tried those, good job. We will talk about them next unit, okay? The only one I was asked about was number 34. So we will go over that. That'll give us a little refresher on how to set up a trig function, and then we'll dive into some other things we have before the quiz. Okay. On number 34, you need to first of all pick a variable. Okay, so like I said, first you need to pick an angle to work with. Let's solve for x first since it comes first in the alphabet. Okay, so if I'm looking for x, I'm going to label my sides accordingly. Compared to x, 18 is adjacent. It is next to that angle. and 22 is the hypotenuse of the triangle. So Katoa tells me to choose cosine. You can write your template first and not fill it in at all. That way you don't put something in the wrong place. The only thing ever allowed in parentheses is the angle. So you put the angle in parentheses even if it's unknown. And then cosine says adjacent goes first. Adjacent over hypotenuse. You don't need to reduce the 18 over 22 because that's not a final answer. You're just putting that into your calculator. So we are going to do inverse cosine, 18 divided by 22, and that's going to equal x. So we do inverse cosine, and the way you do that on your calculator is second cosine. 18 divided by 22, you round to a whole number, and you get 55 degrees. Now, once we have angle x, there is no need to use trig again. We know that these two angles add up to 90 degrees, so we would just do 90 minus 55. You're going to pretend that you're the teacher, and Anna solved this problem. She showed her work and everything. What score would you give her on this problem if this was a 3-point problem? You're the teacher. Your student solved this problem. She showed all of her work. It was a 3-point problem. How many points would you give her? Y'all are being harsh. Rishi would give her 1 point. What would you give her a point for? Where did she mess up? Which step? For almost maybe getting the equation right. She messed up at the very beginning. She chose the wrong trig function. So sure, she set everything up right. She multiplied when she was supposed to multiply and everything, except she chose the wrong trig function. She didn't even set up the equation right. So maybe 0 points, maybe 1 point. Let's look at the next student. This is so funny because I made these problems before I even knew you guys, and I have an Anna and a Griffin. That's funny. Okay. Griffin solved the following problem. His work is shown on the right. What score would you give him if the problem is worth 3 points? Oh, sorry. I have a Griffin later in the day. Sorry. Only 1 point? What did Griffin do wrong? So the only thing Griffin did was rounded wrong. So out of 3 points, you should at least give him 2, right? Just take off -1 for rounding. He did everything right. Check, check. The answer was even right. It was just rounded wrong. It should have been 26.5. Cool. No, we're just going through an exercise of checking their work and looking at each step. No, that's not how I'm grading you. A lot of times yours is just right or wrong. We don't do a whole lot of partial credit in here. Theo, oh, I don't have any Theos. Theo solved the following problem. His work is shown. What score would you give him if it's worth 3 points? Did we all catch where Theo messed up? Mess up right here, right? Denominator divide. You were supposed to divide this. So this would be wrong, so only got 1 step right. So maybe he would get 1 point out of 3 for the problem, or nothing. Yeah, -2. All right. Go to your calculator, solve for x, tell me what happens, and then, better than that, tell me why. You're getting an error message. I get it. You are getting an error message. But why? Not because of domain, not because of sadness. Why can't your calculator do inverse sine of 34 divided by 13? Why not? Because it's not a whole triangle. Not quite. Johan, you press second sine. Can't divide a whole number? No, that's not why. Tahir got it. Ding, 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 ding. Yay, Tahir, you are the winner. Sine, the ratio for sine is opposite over hypotenuse. When in the world could the opposite ever be greater than the hypotenuse? Never. The opposite is not allowed to be greater than the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always the longest side of the triangle. He got it. So anyways, if the other side is negative, yes, but we don't have negative sides of triangles. Okay, so just reminding you of what these trig ratios are. They represent sides of triangles, and we still have to obey the laws of triangles, especially right triangles. Okay, this is the last thing we're doing before your quiz. Do not use a calculator at all whatsoever and find the following: sine of 30, tan of 60, cosine of 45. No calculators, don't use them at all. You can do this. The thing is that the warm-up gave you a huge hint to this. The warm-up, remember? Yeah, Edriel, good. I picked very specific angles, 30, 60, 45. Those are special angles. So maybe it would help to draw a triangle. One of them being 30, 60, 90. One of them being 45, 45, 90. X root 3, 2x. X root 2. What would the sine of 30 be? Okay, opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse. What happens to our x's? They cancel. There was a 1 placeholder there. So the sine of 30, the ratio, it's a ratio, remember, is 1/2. Try the next one. What would the tangent of 60 be? Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. So the tangent of 60 would be square root 3. Good. And what would the cosine of 45 be? Not root 2. Adjacent over hypotenuse. The x's cancel, so it's 1 over root 2. That's good. Rationalize the denominator. Square root 2 over 2 is the answer to C. You just did trig without a calculator. Congratulations. That's the only time we would ever do it without a calculator, is when it's a special right triangle. Okay? I wouldn't make you do it on any other one. You may begin on your quiz.